We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi and Meseches Moed Kattan. This is Moed Kattan Daf 25b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara said that Rabbi Bar Huna and also Rav Hamnuna, they died, and both of them were being brought up to Eretz Yisrael. So Kimatu Agishra, so when they got to a bridge, Rashi over here says, Kimatu Agishra, Kashigiu Lavor B'Daf Shel Kesher Kotzer, was a very narrow bridge. She'achshav lo hayucholin lavor zeh b'tzad zeh, so you couldn't bring them both together, one next to the other. Elazeh achar zeh, one had to go first, and one had to go behind. So Kamu Gamli, so the camels, they just stood still, they didn't want to move. So Amar Lu Ahutaya, so a certain Arab, he said to them, My hi, what's going on over here? So Amrule Rabbanan, so Rabbanan said to him, Avdi Yikara Hadadi, they're giving honor, they're giving respect to one another, meaning the spirit of Rabbi Bar Huna and the spirit of Rav Hamnuna are giving respect to one another. Mar Omar Mar Neil Beresho, Mar Omar Mar Neil Beresho. One master saying the other master should go first, and one master saying, no, the other master should go first. Each one wants the other one to have the covet. So Amar, so now this Arab merchant said, Dinahu de Rabbi Bar Huna Leol. It makes sense that Rabbi Bar Huna should be the one to go, Leol Beresha should be the one to go first. The idea seemingly being that Rabbi Bar Huna was a descendant of the great Rav Huna. So Cholav Gamle de Rabbi Bar Huna, so that's exactly what happened. The camel of Rabbi Bar Huna passed, it went first. And so the Gemara concludes, Nasr Kichi V'Shina Duhutaya, the molars in the teeth of that particular Arab merchant, they fell out. It was like a punishment because he really had disrespected Rav Hamnuna. The Gemara continues, Pasach Allah Hahu Yenuka, a particular child, he began to eulogize Rabbi Bar Huna and Rav Hamnuna. He said as follows, Geze Yeshishim Olam Bavel, means to say the shoot of an ancient line has come up from Bavel. Rabba was a descendant of a great line of tzaddikim. V'imo Sefer Melchamos, and with him, together with him, is a Sefer Melchamos. Rashi says it means like a Sefer Torah, a book of wars. That's a reference to Rav Hamnuna. In other words, he was showing respect to Rabbi Bar Huna and Rav Hamnuna. And the eulogy continues, Kos v'kipot huchpalu, that refers to different kind of birds, the pelican and the bittern. They have become doubled. That refers to the golus, or the klola, has become doubled. Liros b'shod v'shever habam mishinor, to see in the destruction and the brokenness that have come out of Shinar, that have come out of Bavel. Katzaf alo olamo, means to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu has become angry at his world. V'chamas mimenu nefashos, and he has taken souls. V'samach behem, and he rejoices in them. Kechalo chadasho, like a new bride. Rochev arovos, he rides upon the clouds. Sos v'samach b'voelov nefesh naki v'tzadik, and he rejoices and he's happy when the soul of the innocent tzaddik comes before him. The idea being that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has taken these souls to be together with him. And the Gemara continues, Kinach nafshe de Ravina, when Ravina died, Pasach Allahu Safdana, a certain eulogizer, he opened as follows, Timorim haniu rosh, he said, date palms, lower your heads, shake your heads, al tzaddik hatamor, over this tzaddik who's compared to a date palm, and noshim leilos kayamim, women make the nights like days, cry over him night and day, al mesim leilos kayamim, on the individual, again talking about Ravina, who made the nights like the daytime. In terms of learning Torah, he learned day and night. The Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Ashi levar Kipok. Rav Ashi said to Bar Kipok, Bar Kipok was a famous eulogizer of the time. He said to him, Hahu Yuma, that day, meaning that day that Ravina is going to die, my Amrit, what are you going to say on that day? So Amar le, so he said to him, I'm going to say as follows. In Ba'arozim nafla shal heves, if a flame was able to consume the cedar tree, Mayasu ezovekir, what's going to happen to the hyssops of the wall? Leviathan bechika hoala, if the Leviathan is able to be grabbed by a hook, Mayasu dage rakak, what is it going to be with the fish that live in the marsh? Benachal shotef nafla, if dryness can overtake the flowing stream, Mayasu megavim, what's going to be with the water that's just in the puddles? In other words, Ravina is so great. If this could happen to Ravina, what's going to happen with everyone else? And so the Gemara continues, Amar le Baravin. So Baravin said to Bar Kipok, Baravin also was a famous eulogizer. He said, Chas v'sholom dechika v'shalheves b'tzadike amina. Chas v'sholom, and I'm going to use terms like the hook and the flame when I'm talking about tzaddikim. So the Gemara says, Umay Amrit. So he said to him, so what are you going to say? So he said, Amina, I'm going to say as follows. B'chu la'avelim v'lo la'aveda, shehi le'menucha v'anu la'nacha. I'm going to say you should cry over the mourners, but not to that which was lost, because that which was lost, meaning the deceased, that's going to go at peace, that's going to be at rest. But we're the ones who are going to be grieving for our losses. In any case, the Gemara says, Chalash daite alayu. So what happened was, when Rav Ashi heard of all these great eulogies they were planning for Ravina, he actually became depressed about it. V'ishapuch karayu. So then their feet became turned inward as a punishment for causing Rav Ashi this distress. And it says, Ahu Yoma, that day when Ravina actually died, Lo asu lasbude, they actually weren't able to come to give the eulogy. V'hainu damar Rav Ashi, and that's also what Rav Ashi would say, Lo var kipuk cholitz v'lo baravin cholitz. Bar kipuk and baravin, they can't do chalitza properly because because of this malformation in their feet. And the Gemara continues, Rava ki avosla diglas, when Rava came to the Tigris River, Amar Leila Baravin, so he said to Baravin, Kum ema milsa, come say something. He was worried. He wanted a prayer to be said to protect them so that he wouldn't get swept up in the waters of the river. So he got up, V'yamar, and he said as follows, Bo rov shlishis b'mayim, the majority of the third, that's a reference to Klal Yisrael, that has come to the water. Rashi over here explains, Rov shlishis, Yisrael nikru shlishis. In other words, Klal Yisrael is called shlishis. The Rava shakal kerov Yisrael. That means Rov Shlishis means that Rava is equal in greatness to the majority of Klal Yisrael. The Amarle said to him, Kum ve'emor milsa kolomar bikesh rachamim. He was saying, please daven for mercy, that we should be protected over here. So he referred to Rava as the Rov Shlishis. And he's come in water, and now he davens as follows. Zechor v'rachim, remember us, have mercy on us. Ta'inu me'acharecha kisha mibalo. We've strayed from you like a woman strays from her husband. Al taznichenu ka'os me'mara. Don't forsake us as if we were like the sign of the bitter waters, referring to the bitter waters of the Sota. And the Gemara continues, this is a mnemonic for the coming Gemara. Chanan Yochanan Zeira, Yaakov Yossi Shmuel, Chia Menachem Simon. This is a simon of the various eulogies that the Gemara will discuss. And so the Gemara says, Rav Chanin chasne devei nasi have. Rav Chanin was a son-in-law in the house of the Nasi. So lo kahavale b'nei, he didn't have children. So ba rachme v'havale, so he davened and he ended up having children. Hahu yom dahavale, that day that he had a son, so nach nafshe, he died on the same day. So pasach alehu safdana, so this particular eulogizer, he opened as follows and he said a eulogy, Simcha letuga nefcha, the happiness has been turned to sorrow. Sason v'yago nidbeku, there's rejoicing, but there's also, again, there's sorrow. They become attached as one. They're together today. Be'ez simchaso nanach, at the very time when he had simcha, he sighed his last breath. Be'ez chaninoso avid chanino, at the time that he got favor, that he received a son, he lost his own favor. He died. Asikule Chanan al Shmei, and the Gemara concludes that they actually named the son Chanan after his father. Again, his father was Rav Chanin, and they named the son Chanan. And the Gemara continues, Kinach nafshe de Rabbi Yochanan, when Rabbi Yochanan died, Pasach ale Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar opened the eulogy as follows. He said, Kasha hayom li Yisrael kiyom bo hashemesh bat zoharayim. This day is as difficult for Klal Yisrael as the day when the sun set at noon. Like the pasuk says, "V'haya bayomahu ve'hevesi hashemesh b'tzarayim." It says it will be on that day that I'm going to have the sun set at noontime. V'yamar Rabbi Yochanan said, "Ze yomo shel Yoshio." That pasuk is a reference to the day when Yoshio HaMelech died. Again, that day is compared to this day now when Rabbi Yochanan has passed on. Kinach nafshe Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara further relates that when Rabbi Yochanan died, Yosef Rabbi Ami Shiva Shloshim. Rabbi Ami sat the conventional Shiva and Shloshim as a time periods of mourning for Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Rabbi Abba Bered Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So Rabbi Abba, the son of Rabbi Chia bar Abba, said, Rabbi Ami do'avid legarmehu do'avid. Rabbi Ami did, according to his own opinion, he wasn't following what he had learned. Dehachi Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Chia bar Abba actually said, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Afilu Rabbo Shalimdo Chachma. Even if it's a person's Rebbe who taught him wisdom, Eino Yoshev Olav Ela Yom Echad, he only sits and mourns for him for one day, shouldn't necessarily do the 7 days and the 30 days. And the Gemara continues, Kinach Nafshi de Rabbi Zera, when Rabbi Zera died, Pasach Alehu Saftana, a particular eulogizer, opened as follows, Eretz Shinor Hara V'yolda. It was the land of Shinar that conceived and gave birth. It means to say that Rabbi Zera was born in Bavel. But Eretz Tzvi Gidla Shashu, it's the Eretz Tzvi, that's a reference to Eretz Yisrael, the land of beauty. That's what raised him, that's where he moved to, and he became raised in that land. Oy na lo amra Rakas, woe is to her, says Rakas, ki avda klechem dasa, because she has lost. Rakas is a reference to Tiberia, because she has lost her beautiful vessel. And so she's mourning over the loss of Rabbi Zera. The Gemara continues, Kinach nafshe de Rabbi Avo, when Rabbi Avo died, Achisu amude de Kesari Maya, the pillars of Caesarea, they became flowing, they flowed with water as if they were in mourning. The Rabbi Yossi, and when Rabbi Yossi died, Shifu Marzve de Tzipure Dama, the gutters of Tzipore, they were flowing with blood. The Rabbi Yaakov, and when Rabbi Yaakov died, Ischamiu Kochve B'Yamama, the stars were able to be seen, they were visible during the day. The Rabasi, and when Rabasi died, Yakru Kali Lanaya, all of the trees became uprooted. Seems to be they became uprooted in like a storm. The Rabbi Chia Nechisu Kipi Denura Mirakia, when Rabbi Chia died, so they were like stones of fire that fell from the sky. The Rabbi Menachem Ishto Tzalmanaya V'Havu L'Machal Tzaya, and when Rabbi Menachem died, so the statues, they became smooth, as if they had been smoothed over by the trowel of one who plasters. That was something that was used to smooth things over. We'll take a look at a few Rashis over here. Rabbi Zera Haya mi Bavel. Rabbi Zera was originally from Bavel. Ubanola, that's where he was born. V'gad al Beretz Yisrael, but he was raised in Eretz Yisrael. V'aynu dekamar Eretz Shinor har v'yolda. That's what it means to say that in the land of Shinor he became conceived and he was born. Eretz Tzvi, but the land of beauty, the land of Eretz Yisrael. God l'shashua, raised her darling, means the darling of Bavel. He was raised in Eretz Yisrael. That's why he's called, Rashi says, Rabbi Zera and Rav Zera. Because when he was in Bavel, the Amoraim in Bavel were called Rav, but the Amoraim in Eretz Yisrael were called Rabbi. Oyin Allah Amra Rakas, Yechola Lomar Kain Rakasi, Tiveria, like we said, Rakas is Tiveria, she's mourning over him. Achisu Haridu Demos, Achisu means to say that they're crying, they're bringing down tears. That's a reference to the pillars of Kesari that are crying over Rabbi Avo. Eschamiu Kochve means Niru HaKochave, means the stars were visible during the day. Shenishtana Ha'olam Erov Tzar, the world changed because of all the pain. Kipi Denura is Avonim Shalor, like we said, stones of fire came down. Ishtot Salmanaya Nimochu parts of Shalehen. What it means is that the statues were smooth. It means the faces of those statues became smooth. V'hava l'machaltzai klomar nechlekov v'nismacha kol suras parts of Shel Tzalamim. What it means is that every face on every statue became smoothed over. V'tzuras hamatbeos, and also the faces, the images on the coins. Memnei tzuras hachoset shenishtanis, because of the fact that this particular pious individual, his face has now become changed because he died. To Rabbi Menachem ben Non shel Kedoshim, because Rabbi Menachem was the son of holy people. Shalom nistakel af betzura shel zuzah, and he would not even look at the image that was on a coin. Kedamrinan bar Psachim, like we say in our Psachim. V'havu l'machal tzaya, Rashi says, kemo shehuchleku b'maigol. Again, like as if you're using the trowel to smooth it over. Uv'machal tzayim sheba matchin titakosel. That's what they used to use to smooth out the mortar that was on the wall, the cement on the wall. They used it to smooth it. That's what it looked like, that these statues were smoothed over. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Tanchem bar Chia, when Rabbi Tanchem bar Chia died, iskatzatzu kol in deratia, all of the statues, they became mutilated. Rashi says in Darta Tzuras Hatzlomim She'osan al Shem HaMelech Shemes. When a king dies, they have these images that are made, these statues. They were all destroyed. The Rabbi Yoshev Ichasru Shivin Machtartu ben Nahardoi. When Rabbi Yoshev died, so there were 70 tunnels that were dug by the thieves in Nahardoi. Rashi over here says Shivin Machtartin de Ganovim, again 70 tunnels of thieves. The Bizchuse Lahavasu Ganovim, because it was in the merit of Rabbi Yoshev while he was alive that there were no thieves. So when he passed away, suddenly all the thieves entered Nahardoi. The Rav Hamnuna, when Rav Hamnuna died, Nechisu Kipe de Barda Merakia, so from the heavens came down stones of hail. The Rav of Rav Yosef Noshu Kipe de Prasa Hadadi, and when Rav and Rav Yosef died, so the bridges of the Euphrates River, they kissed each other, they touched each other. Rashi over here says, Nesho Kipi Kipo Shel Geshorim, the tops of the bridges, Nishtabru, they broke. V'noshku zezen, they kissed one another. The Abaye v'Ravin, when Abaye and Rava died, Nosho Kipe de Digla Sahadadi. Similarly, the tops of the bridges of the Tigris River, they kissed one another, they touched one another when they broke apart. Kinoch Nafshi de Rav Mesharshia, and the Gemara says when Rav Mesharshia died, Ton Dikle Shitze, so the palm trees, they ended up having thorns. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavav Amud Aleph.